The first myth about autism that I want to discuss is the idea that autism is a disease. No, autism is not a sickness or an illness. Autism is a different way that individuals' brains work, and their brain is just simply working differently than what you would call neurotypical people such as ourselves. The next myth is the idea that autism can be cured. No, it can't be cured because it's not a disease, it's not an illness. Now, of course, people can make with therapies a lot of improvements in terms of their functionality, their socialization, and their communication, but we're not curing autism. People who have said to have been cured of autism were misdiagnosed initially. They might have had sensory processing disorder, which looked like autism, but it wasn't true autism. Now, there's a ton of misinformation out there about autism, specifically the causes of autism. You may hear in the news it's about the vaccines or it's about Tylenol. It's simply not true. The top researchers and the experts about autism say that it's a combination of genetics and some environmental factors. And of those environmental factors, none of which are Tylenol or vaccines. It has to do with like the father's age, any specific health conditions with the mother. There's different exposure to different toxins in utero. None of it has to do with a lot of stuff that we hear about, specifically the vaccines or Tylenol. Then there's the idea that there's an autism epidemic going on. No, autism has always been here. And while there are more people being diagnosed with autism, the rate's at about 1 for every 125, 127 individuals right now. It doesn't mean that there's an increased number of people with autism now than there was in the past. Now we're really fortunate that as a society, we're much more aware of it and trying to help people get the diagnosis and the help that they need. We have more providers that are able to recognize it. There's been more research and learning about autism. Some people believe that only boys can have autism. That's simply not true. Now, there are more boys diagnosed with autism than there are girls, but there's plenty of girls who have been diagnosed with autism. I've worked with many of them. And please don't believe the myth that everybody with autism have these certain characteristics, such as all people with autism are violent, or all people with autism have intellectual disabilities, or all people are like a savant like Rain Man, or all people with autism aren't able to form attachments or have feelings. None of that is true. Everybody with autism is completely different and has their own strengths and challenges, just as neurotypical people do. Another myth is the idea that autism can be caused after birth. Now, all reliable research, countless research articles have said that autism is caused during pregnancy when the baby is in utero. So things outside, such as vaccines or Tylenol or anything like that, isn't causing changes to their neurological system and their genetic makeup. All of that, any kind of changes that have happened in utero. If you have concerns that your little one might have autism, please talk to your pediatrician. Your pediatrician will be up to date on the current research and will be able to debunk any myths that someone on TV or someone that you know might be telling you. Your pediatrician is your best first source in order to learn about autism, especially for your little one.